Do you ever find you get your lunge line in a bit of a tangle when you're trying to lunge your horse? Well, if that's you, don't worry, because it happens to everybody. And in this video, I'm going to show you some simple tips on how to manage your lunge line to make life easy. And we had a question from Margaret Rogers this week asking about how to actually manage the lunge line when you're trying to do the direction change on the move. So if you'd like to know how to do that in an easy and effective way, keep on watching. Okay, so first of all, let's start off by taking a look at how to actually pick up your line and get it organized. Because if you get that bit right, it makes everything that comes afterwards a lot easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my whip well out of the way of the horse. So I'll just tuck it under my arm conveniently here, so it's poking out behind me. And I'm just going to let the excess of the rope drop on the floor, basically. And then we're going to be heading in that direction. So this is the hand I'll be controlling the horse with. And all I'm going to do now is make a series of loops into my left hand. So I'll start off with a small one, and I'm actually going to make the loops that come after just a little bit bigger each time, because that means I can have the whole rope in my hand, but I don't have too much rope in there, so it's not too cumbersome. Now, when I've got the rope ready to use, I'll bring my whip back round to the position where I can use it. And then this is another important step. I'm going to take all of the spare rope into my whip hand, and that leaves me with this hand free to actually give the aids and control the horse. So now we're ready to go. So I'll use my whip and ask my horse to move on. And if I want to increase the distance between myself and the horse, I can give the horse a bit of a signal to move away from me. And all I have to do really is just let the rope pay out loop by loop from my hand. And if I want to get closer to the horse, I'll put my rope into my whip hand, reach down with this lunging hand so I can get closer to the horse. I make an extra loop if I need to, and I can get as close as I want to, like so. So now let's take a look at how you actually make the direction change. And the big mistake I think a lot of people make with this is to try and do it for the very first time, actually with a real horse and moving quite quickly. And there's a few things you need to do in a certain order. So it'll really help if you take your time and do it slowly. And actually, the easiest way to do this is to have a person holding on to the other end of the lunge line rather than a horse in the beginning. And you might be wondering if it's my horse here who's actually doing the filming, but in fact it's Joe at the other end of this line who's holding the line but also holding the camera. So let's see how things work in action. So we'll go through this very, very slowly. So we'll start moving in this direction, and I'm using my left hand to control the horse. I'm using my whip if I need to ask the horse to go forward a little bit more. Now, to get ready for the direction change, what I'm going to do is pass the handle of the whip forwards and underneath the line, and I'll actually take hold of the line in my right hand here. So this means I can take the whip in my left hand, and I can even keep using it if I need to keep the horse moving forwards. Now, to change direction, I'm going to bring the whip out to my side. I'll step back, and then I'm going to use the whip to guide the horse's shoulder away from me into the new direction. And once I'm happy that we're moving in the direction that I want, then I'll take the excess line into my whip hand, and I can even turn it round as you saw there if necessary. Now, with the best will in the world, it's almost inevitable that sometimes you might get in a bit of a muddle, and maybe even like I've done here, there's a loop of your line gets a bit too long and becomes a bit of a trip hazard. Actually, it's easy to stand on it. So first thing is, if this happens, don't worry about it. It happens to all of us from time to time. So all you need to do, actually, you can just drop the line, and of course if we're moving forwards, it will just pay out behind you on the floor. So like I showed you earlier, just tuck your whip under your shoulder so you're not going to disturb the horse, and you just remake the loops like I showed you at the beginning. And once you've got them organized, you can take your whip back and pass the excess loops back into your whip hand, and there you are, everything's under control, and you're happy to carry on. So if that's been useful for you, remember to like and subscribe so you get notified about future videos. And if you've got a question you'd like us to answer, pop it in the comments and we can talk about it in a future video.